EDG. So EDG already coming out swinging with that first pick, Viego, to start things off.
Making sure they do not give Xiaohu something he has looked absolutely insane on in the last few games. They ban away the Gwen, they take the Viego, but it does leave open a couple of different things, like the Lee Sin for the side of RNG, and Xiaohu has shown in the previous games of the season he can also play this champion, so something he is still very, very comfortable on.
Yeah, he also showed us like MSI. He was pretty insane on the pick. It's one that he has definitely taken under his wing and looked very, very strong on that one. I think the Varus also something that Gala has been very happy to move towards in the bottom lane. Likely see that paired up with something like the Nautilus, especially now that Aphelios Thresh gets locked in on the other side. So EDG already with that bot lane have a super potent bot lane 2 versus 2, and of course the team fighting power that comes with that Aphelios as well.
And the Nautilus would be a pretty good pick for Ming. Very much in spring, it was his go-to roam champion, able to set up the rest of his waves. We'll see now what RNG want to go for. No, they're not going to lock in the support. They feel like they have enough options in the tank, and they're going to go for the Jayce instead. Wow,
that is I don't believe that Cryin has played the Jayce yet. This split, of course, could go up to Xiaohu in the top side. He's no stranger to that champion either. But Xiaohu has played Lee Sin, I believe, 6 of the 7 times that it's been locked in for RNG, so it's hard to imagine that he's not the one going to be piloting that champion. RNG do hold on to the cards, though. Don't necessarily have to show what exactly is going to be going over. But because they went for the Jayce, it means the Nautilus does get banned away. So RNG have something cooked up for this first game that is going to deviate from a lot of those comfort champions they've gone to so much in the recent series they've played.
Well, we'll see now the Malphite and the Wukong. So good, heavy engage tools being taken away now by RNG and EDG. I would not be surprised to see them take away the Leona. You get rid of that hard engage alongside the Nautilus. Works out, so you're not giving that kill pressure in that bot lane. But we'll see what they do end up prioritizing. And looking down the board right now, it feels like they're just trying to give Xiaohu a decent matchup into top lane. Something like the Wukong and the Malphite can just absorb a lot of that style, if you will, if he does go with the Lee Sin. But this time around, it's going to be EDG banning away the LeBlanc. So they're still feeling like Cryin going to be taking that into the mid lane. They don't feel like that Jayce is necessary into mid.
Yeah, it's interesting here because, I mean, already so much physical damage showing from RNG to lethality users, presumably, you know, Varus often going that lethality route. So any sort of tanks that get locked in for EDG going to be very powerful. Fighters that can build, you know, a GA for the free armor, you know, the Ninja Tabby, or they don't have those anymore. Plated steel caps. Back in my day, maybe they had the tabbies, but the steel cap's going to be super high value. And it's really interesting to see the Rakan come on through. Of course, RNG need ways to start off fights. Rakan Lee Sin is a combo that goes back quite a long time to find creative ways into fights, get really strong flanks going for the team, and you have a lot of long-range damage threats, poke threats to follow up on those types of engagements. But this is a bit of a surprising start to the draft from RNG, and they really do feel, it feels like they need to find some magic damage to round it out.
Yeah, one time this season, Ming has played Gala. It was a loss, sadly, for him, so see if he can make that a 50-50 ratio as they come into the final picks and bans. Ryze, just a staple of any good mid laner in the LPL. We could say it's synonymous with so many different people. You just have to be good at this champion if you want to play in this league. And EDG, they're going to lock in the Sett. Nice. So Viego into the jungle and Sett to the top side.
Yeah, Flandre, most played champion so far this split is going to be that Sett, and good luck damaging Sett ever with 3, you know, physical damage dealers. And if a Twisted Fate gets locked in, like, that's hardly any magic damage. Sett already so good at absorbing any sort of mage damage threats because his W just negates burst, and most mages, their damage profile is going to be oriented around burst. So RNG have to be very creative in the way they approach these team fights, because I don't know. I think it's going to be really hard to get through the front line of a Sett, of a Thresh, stacking up his passive, getting all that armor as well. And what they lack in sort of a balanced damage profile, they make up for in heavy mobility and playmaking tools, right? Lee Sin, Twisted Fate, Rakan can find fights from a really far way away. So RNG's game plan is going to be much more focused around finding picks, about attacking straggling members in side lanes and things of this nature. So a hard game one to play for RNG, but if they pull it off, it's going to look real nice.
It really, really is. And the last time, of course, we did see the Jayce for Xiaohu in that top side was against Damwon, was against the Lee Sin, but he did lose on it. So see if you can make it a win off of this particular one. This is exactly what we love seeing from RNG in terms of how they want to win the game, because it is all about topside. It is all about funneling pressure and money and resources into Xiaohu, and he has proven and shown time and time again that he is more than willing to be able to show them back to his team if he gets those favors.
Look, I think coming out of this draft, EDG, I have to put my money on them. They're looking so strong. Yes, Xiaohu can get a lot of attention towards the top side, roams from a Rakan, the Twisted Fate as well, but you can't forget there's a Ryze in the mid lane to try and back that up. And even if Xiaohu does get put ahead, he's a physical damage dealer, and the rest of his team is all going to be dealing physical damage. They're all auto attackers, right? It's going to be so easy for Flandre to absorb all this damage. So I think that EDG came in with a very obvious, really clear game plan, and RNG, the win conditions a little bit more narrow. They are going to have to be very precise in how they execute finding picks and utilizing their ultimates to the extreme.
Now, it's a legal tempo here for the Aphelios, as I just saw a quick look at the runes. So going for more of a laning dominant thing. You sometimes see the Conqueror. It is something that, is not uncommon to see, but we'll see how it all works out as we are jumping onto the Rift for game one of this best of three. EDG versus RNG, the losers semi-final rematch from spring. We'll see if EDG can get some revenge.
A matchup as old as time itself, or maybe just League of Legends itself. EDG versus RNG, a big one whenever it rolls around in the LPL. One of the best rivalries we have for sure. And honestly, this is a damaged-looking RNG, right? Coming off of MSI like we were talking about previously, not setting themselves up for a very easy game one, I feel like, in draft, but all eyes must come down, I feel personally, to Wei, Ming, how they're able to get around the map and influence these lanes, because team fights, RNG, I think get blown out of the water, not even close. They're going to have to be very clever in how they try to find fights.
And honestly, you're looking at a Varus and a Jayce. They need to have people on half HP before the fight even begins. That's how you win with those two particular champions, and maybe look for a pick-off with the Twisted Fate. But we'll see what way it does all end up going. Of course, with Gala and Ming now going towards that bot side, they did not give a leash. They recognize that they don't really want to lose the push against the Aphelios and the Thresh. And right now, we're going to see the Grand Entrance does land down as Viper in a little bit of trouble. The double cleanse almost instantly at the exact same time as the Ignites went down. But it is EDG coming out with this one. Ming flashes away. Meiko not quite got the empowered auto, so they will come out with a summoner advantage on the side of EDG.
Yeah, there's a lot of potions to spam. Both bot laners going for longsword 3 pots. They've got cookies as well, but there's one big difference. RNG's jungler is walking towards the top side of the map. Jiejie, well, I thought he was going to be walking towards the bottom side. Now he's looking for perhaps a gank around mid lane. Cryin's hugging this way. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's so smart. You know the Cryin's just not expecting this in EDG first blood. Raz, I hope you're watching, because Jiejie is a top-tier jungler.
Yeah, Jiejie finds the exact right moment to attack around that middle lane. Bot lane now, luckily there's a ward in river, so they know that Jiejie is going back towards his side of the jungle, but this could be really, really rough, right? They lost all their potions on the bottom side of the map. They lost a cleanse, flash, ignite. It is going to be oh so easy for EDG to try and punish that in the coming minutes, or just relegate RNG to underneath their towers, because as you can see, Jiejie doesn't need a red buff, doesn't want it. He's walking into the river. There's a scuttle crab to spawn soon, and he might even want to threaten diving that bottom lane.
One shining light for RNG is, of course, they do have the pressure in topside. Pretty standard Jayce versus Sett setup, but with Wei now coming in, maybe they do want to try and go for the dive. This is what RNG do best. They feed money and gold into this man. Hit level 3, so they don't want to go for it. They get the TP out of Scout, and they're happy with that trade. But while that's been happening, we can see now on the bot side, Gala now pushing forward onto Viper, but there's just so little tank stats onto a Rakan. You cannot continue with that chase.
Yeah, and even if you do step forward again, you know your jungler's on the top side of the map. Jiejie could be waiting in the shadows, waiting to find his mark and get that gank to happen. So RNG are unable to attack in the bot lane. They do deny a lot of minions from Flandre, though. So even though you say, okay, both TPs were used, like, what does that actually gain RNG? Well, not much, except for that difference in the top lane, which has opened up to just under 10 CS. Xiaohu will go back to base, get a tier of the goddess, as well as a longsword. But Jiejie is just back in mid. We're flashing in, babe.
They didn't have to use their flashes last time, and that means they have them available this time. Cryin, though, just about staying alive. Still very early on in the game. Those health bars not exactly the greatest at tanking out turrets. And that's a very, very good regank here from Jiejie. He is just punishing the weak link in the mid lane.
Yeah, Jiejie still hasn't taken his red buff, by the way. Really interesting pathing from him, of course. Wanted to get down to the bot lane. Scuttlecrab has just really wanted to attack mid over and over and over again, and very nearly got a second kill on towards Cryin. So actually, by the time he passed down back towards the bottom side, he's going to have red buff at a really odd timer, and it'll be at the end of his clear once again, so he's got a lot of time to make that use of that, to look for a gank, to look for any sort of skirmish up against Wei. And I mean, he's got the lanes to do it, right? Mid lane and bot lane are going to be absolutely crushing for EDG, constantly pushing in, and it's only top side that's going to be weak side. But hey, you knew that coming into the series, that top side was going to be the weak side when you're playing against Xiaohu. It is totally fine to let him jump ahead in CS, to push Flandre underneath the tower, because it's going to be all about shutting down the Twisted Fate roaming ability and unlocking Scout to get around the map.
That's the big thing. The Twisted Fate's great when you're able to get the move first, but if the Ryze is there before you, it's not really what you want to see. Hook goes wide from Meiko as he gets himself into a position to try and be aggressive, and Ming's going to have to wait for a couple more levels. You know, the Rakan isn't exactly great at those first few levels, needs the quickness, needs the extra little bit of CC just to make his life a little bit more bearable and also to set up those ganks. And we see now the Hook whistled past the butt cheeks of Gala as he gets himself out of position. But Wei now, can't get caught out. At least he should have safeguard available to him and does get himself away. So again, good pressure here on the bottom half of the map from EDG.
Yo, Jiejie just hates red buff. It's still up, but he's looking for the roam bot side. Scout's level 6, a big wave crashing in. Cryin is not 6. He cannot respond back bot.
They cannot. They're going to see them get the cleanse and the flash, but they don't even get the flash out of Gala. He's down. Double kill going to the side of EDG. Scout, even Viper just about keeps himself alive. The Q not quite going to land onto Meiko, and EDG find themselves with a 1,500 gold lead and 3 kills on the board.
Look, there's a reason why EDG are sitting at the top of the LPL standings. It's just looking clinical from them, right? They come out of the draft with a big advantage. It seems bot lane is crushing early on, taking a really great trade, building up that CS lead, constantly leading into pressure. And what do? They attack mid lane to shut down Cryin, make sure that Scout's the first one to 6, that Scout can roam out of that lane. Then they stack it up off a crashing wave in the bot lane, get a couple of kills, deny even more CS. It's just picture perfect League of Legends from EDG. You couldn't ask for anything better.
Well, this RNG invade has been spotted out, and there's a hell of a lot of people around this red buff, so EDG very well protected to set up for this, as now they know they might have been spotted out. Flandre's even here. It's all 5 people. A Scout gets kicked back. He no longer has flash. He's going to try and go in on top of this, and we can see now showstopper to start off Ming as he gets himself away with the flash and the grand entrance. So what looked like a proactive play from the side of RNG gets completely thwarted and ends up really biting them in the butt.
Yeah, Flandre read that something was going to be going down around that middle lane, was already on a beeline over there to it. Doesn't matter, he's down 23 CS. He's going to get back up there in time to pick up a little bit. We do have to mention, though, Xiaohu is continuing to stack up 2 turret plates to his name as well, so he's going to deal a lot of damage, but the problem again comes that he is going to be a lethality user with another lethality user on his team, and not really any magic damage coming through. Twisted Fate already doesn't do very much, and he's down 0-1. Scout continuing to get further and further ahead with the early kill around mid with the roam too, and with him not falling with the last attempt from RNG, well, what do RNG do? They just sort of sit around. Ming can't leave bot lane because Gala is getting pushed in constantly. If he leaves, his bot laner just gets doped, so we're not going to see the same RNG that roams up to the Herald, that roams up to the top lane, tries to fight around Xiaohu. No, it's not going to happen. They're the RNG that are locked in lane, even though they have the champions that want to be sprinting around the map, making plays happen.
Now, I love this on the side of Flandre as well. He's recognizing that he's not going to be winning this top side, so he didn't TP back to lane. He kept his teleport advantage to himself, so he knows that if RNG do try to get proactive, they do try to make a 4v3 play or 4v2 play in bot side with the Destiny Gate, it's just not really going to work out for them because the side of EDG can equal it out. They can respond and get themselves into position to fight for it.
And EDG don't really care about giving up the Drake with the Rift Herald. That's just going to be more money in the pockets. Looking for a play like this.
Oh, I love the grand entrance. They're going to force the cleanse. They're going to use nicely done. Viper gets over the wall, but Cryin has the auto attack, and that's a good response here from EDG. They recognized there was going to be no support, and 2 kills over to the Twisted Fate. RNG not dead yet.
That's exactly what we needed to see from RNG, the creativity in finding these plays. You know, originally the call was let's just do Drake, but then they see 2 guys sort of walking through the jungle right on top of a ward. Cryin can leave that mid lane instantly. That's the kind of snap engage we need to be seeing. The combination of Cryin, Ming, and Wei. That is how RNG fight back in this game, and the gold is even. They can't walk into a 5v5 just yet, but if they continue to find looks like this, it's going to be very, very strong for them. EDG, I mean, Viper and Meiko were just on the quickest way to the bottom lane, but they got a little bit more than they bargained for.
And that all summoners burnt as well from the Aphelios, so he has to play even safer. No cleanse, no flash. Destiny Gate was used, but that will be on a much shorter cooldown than the flash of the Aphelios will be. And that's just great moves here from RNG to keep themselves within touching distance.
Yeah, no, Rift Herald did still go towards EDG. The Drake didn't fall either, so you can wait and see where Jiejie wants to take that one. I think bot lane is the obvious place in the sense they've been crashing up big waves and have looked to make marks on that. And both junglers actually playing towards this side. RNG will see Jiejie walking over that same ward that caught Viper and Meiko earlier. And Wei actually finishes the reset. I don't know about that one, because Jiejie has the Herald. They can just drop this and take off 2-3 turret plates.
And there's also 2 teleports available for EDG, so even if you try and just defend this, it could be very, very risky. You can see EDG are thinking about it. They're not exactly sure, though, where Cryin and Wei are, so they're just going to take the plate, back themselves away, take their win, and go back home without any scratches.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where if EDG had just felt like, you know what, let's just force the dive here, then it goes terribly wrong for RNG because Wei reset, but EDG not going to take the chance that Wei isn't on this side of the map and say, hey, the plates are enough for us. But I really like this from Jiejie, because usually when you go for like a plate gank like that with the Rift Herald, you leave. Jiejie has looped back around, so this is really unexpected to see him just sitting inside a lane brush. This is the type of creativity in gank timing from Jiejie that I feel like really starts to define his style, and Ming does spot him out with the sweeper. That is super, super nice.
Oh, Scout flashes away, but everything lands on top of him, and there is Xiaohu's first kill of the game. Nice roam from the top side. And RNG all of a sudden picking up a little bit of momentum, picking up a couple of kills, and they're now in the ascendancy. They've got themselves a 500 gold lead.
Exactly. RNG need to keep the ball rolling. Their composition has a lot of champions that are really good at finding individual members. They need to continue to stack up this lead. Let's not forget RNG later on into the game, breaking apart into a 1-3-1. Twisted Fate, no slouch in the side lane. Jayce, of course, going to be very strong. Even a 3-2, you know, if you double up solo laners trying to punish Scout when he's solo clearing in one of those side lanes can be very, very strong. The concern you have to keep reminding yourself of, though, is the 5v5 threat of EDG once they continue to buff themselves up with these tank stats against the primarily physical damage team composition of RNG. So that's why RNG have to continue off cooldown almost of the Twisted Fate ulti. When Ming, whenever he can find an opportunity to leave that bottom lane, RNG have to be looking for kills, have to be looking for plays, because they're going to need those natural leads to be able to build up larger advantages in side lanes later. Because if you just sort of chill through the mid game, you know, it's an even game, maybe you're even just slightly ahead and you play a 1-3-1, well, neutral objectives will just be your kryptonite. You'll have to be forced into fighting them, and you won't be able to start threatening towers, threatening inhibitors. Those are the sorts of things you need when you're playing a composition like this.
I'm loving this from both sides. You can see the jungle support duo combination. They are walking around hand in hand, knowing that they both have the damage to kill someone off if they catch them out, but also to make sure that they do not get caught out themselves. That is really good play here from both RNG and EDG, as we can see now Flandre being jumped on here. The Destiny Gate going to be used. The Ghost is available for Cryin, but does not want to commit to it. And that means that the flash from Flandre is enough. But while that's all been happening, you can see with the priority EDG have gotten themselves, they are going to be able to push in towards this bot side.
It's the counterattack in the bottom lane, and Wei, Cryin can't get down here fast enough. There is double TPs, but the tower is so low that Gala and Ming cannot risk sitting around on that bottom side of the map. So first turn of the game will go over to EDG, and that's before the plates even fall either. So Viper gets a whole lot of money, plus 610 on the Aphelios of all things. So Viper's getting all the money he wants. Scout got a bunch early on too off of his roams, and those are the champions that scale so ludicrously well for EDG too. Very nice start for them.
Really, really nice. As you can see, Wei now taking the blue buff and is roaming up towards this top side. Sadly, though, the Jayce not really the best in terms of mana, so doesn't really feel like they can go for the dive just yet. But you're going to look at the gold there. Viper, 1,000 gold to get ahead of Gala. Flandre, about 1,500 or 1,300 behind his top laner. So we know exactly where both sides are prioritizing their pressure, and they are getting the rewards for it.
Yeah, and I think if we're looking at the sort of next objective to contest, RNG would love to get their hands on a Rift Herald. Their composition would benefit a lot if these outer turrets started to fall down. All of a sudden, if you don't have an outer turret to hide behind, Twisted Fate becomes a whole lot more powerful. Ming playing in the Fog of War, finding gank timings onto side lanes become so much stronger. You can see EDG do not want to let that happen. They're the first ones into the river, clearing away vision, getting prio over this middle lane. RNG a little bit slow on their reset time, so 15 seconds away from the Herald. They still have to clear wave this entire minion wave and also get vision in the river, which it's a little bit too late for.
Yeah, Rift Herald has been started. It was almost started with the Facebreaker, but not quite able to get that before it spawns. As we can see now, EDG just pushing in, and RNG recognize it. Exactly what you said. They don't have the time or the resources to put themselves into a position to contest, so they just get themselves the mid-wave push and get themselves down towards this bot side. But need to be careful of where Wei is. He snuck himself into that Raptor camp, and maybe they want to go for him. There's a cleanse down from Viper, and that could be big as they look to try and go for this dive.
It would be a very bold dive to go for with soul laners not really in the area. If they could get a one-shot, perhaps, but at the same time, EDG just pushing down top lane. 2 players in the top side with a Herald to help it out. The turret does go down. Easy breezy for them, and RNG have to think back to that Rift Herald play. Maybe a little bit slow on their reset timers. Even if they are going to give up the Herald, you'd love to be able to trade that mid tower for it at the very least, but because they were so late to mid lane, they still had to clear the entire mid lane wave. The Herald was already dropping. Became really hard for them to do anything. Wow, Scout takes a big chunk out of Cryin there.
Really does. Will be a trade on the bot side, so turret for turret is still a 1-2 turret lead in favor of EDG, and the gold pretty much dead even as we come up past the 15-minute mark. And this is the series I hoped we got, Ender, because I said it could go one of 2 ways, and it looks like we're going for the first one, which is both teams tit for tat, knowing where they're stronger and knowing where they can get advantages.
Yeah, RNG are definitely putting up a really good fight right now, and you can see Xiaohu has done a really good job continuing 30 CS now, so it's continuing to get larger and larger. 30 seconds away from a Cloud Drake, by the way, and with the way RNG are resetting before this one, seems like they're gonna want to fight it. They've got flashes on critical members, right? Like, when it comes down to these fights, the big flashes to look for RNG, Wei and Ming. Those 2 players with flashes, they can punish Viper. No cleanse heading into a fight. Scout, potentially vulnerable there too, although he does have a stopwatch. Those are the players to watch for RNG, and if they can isolate and destroy the backliners from EDG.
TP had to be used there by Flandre. Important to note as well, he does not have his flash just yet, so the engage of a Facebreaker would not really be there, but looks like RNG are happy to give this one up. They don't want to fight it. They got the global out of them, and they'll give this one up for free. No harm, no foul. They'll get themselves a turret up in top side instead.
I like that much better. You know, I was setting up for a fight because, you know what, I kind of believe the RNG were just going to go for broke on that one, but like I mentioned earlier, knocking down those top lane towers, very important. The side lane towers really very big. Now both side lanes a little bit softer, especially, you know, when you play around the next Drake. That top lane tower being down, if someone's, you know, trying to pick up waves, can be very, very punishable. With it being Infernal Rift as well, very easy to walk into the enemy jungle, but more sight lines have opened up, so it's a little bit more challenging for a Rakan or for a Lee Sin to find a flank. It's less important for EDG, I think, to be in those positions with their players, right? If you're going to have anyone flanking, it's probably a Flandre, and he's going to be doing that off of a TP, right? Not necessarily just walking in to an area like that. So Infernal Rift, I do feel like benefits EDG just a little bit, making it harder for RNG to find their ways into a good fight.
And the Infernal Rift as well just means you have to be so much better with your vision control. You need to get those random pathways that now exist, the ones around blue buff, red buffs that didn't exist before. You cannot just rely on the old standards to get you into position to know, perfect information. So for the side of EDG, they're very happy with that. The less information RNG has, the more likely they are to come out with a team fight win. And that's exactly what they're looking to do. They're looking to team fight. As we can see now, the Aphelios going up with the Immortal Shield Bow, actually building himself up towards the Collector. And this is a bit of a weird adaptation we've seen quite a little bit in the LPL and a couple of regions as well. You kind of forego the full crit just to get that little bit of extra damage in those mid-game team fights.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at RNG's composition, like, who's really building much resistances at all? Who's really building armor? Lethality can definitely do a lot of work up against RNG's comp. And hey, with the Collector, you get some crit chance too. So it's not even the end of the world there for Viper. At the same time, it looks like Cryin is working towards the rapid fire cannon, of course, on that Twist Fate to get the extra range out of the gold card, and that's really important because, again, RNG and their threat comes less from like the upfront damage that they can do and more from the ability to lock down single targets. So rapid fire cannon, gold card comboed into an Everfrost usually means that if Cryin has anyone else to help him out, they're probably getting a kill onto whichever player they select from EDG.
The game just kind of tit for tat, both sides recognizing they don't want a full 5v5 just yet, but I think with that finish up of the Collector now for the Aphelios, Viper will be feeling a little bit more confident, has got his cleanse back as well, so again, not as unsafe as we can see. EDG just trying to keep themselves in the vicinity of this mid lane. They don't want to lose this tower. You mentioned it's so important, specifically with something like a Twisted Fate or even a Rakan being able to get behind the enemy lines.
Wards spotting out Ming for the time being. I think RNG would really love to have wards inside the EDG jungle, right? To see players coming from a long way, you know? That's how you can sort of set up and find a lot of these picks. But the lanes have been slowly pushed in by EDG. RNG don't have a lot of control on the map, although you can see them bringing 5 players towards mid to try and do exactly that. The Change the Corruption don't exactly hit their mark. A good Lantern will get Viper out to safety, and well, RNG have priority, but they can't really do much with it. The Skull Crab's already going to be taken before they can get much accomplished at all. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more, you know, subtlety when it comes to what RNG are trying to do here, because, you know, compositionally, they can't really just run 5 players into the mid lane and get anything done. They need to be attacking sides, you know, using their mobility, using their globals to get a lot of work going. And well, with the next Drake coming up, they're happy they got the mountain to start things off, because they don't necessarily have to contest the next objective, but it's something they're going to have to continue to think about as we get later into this game.
Ender, has there been anything happening? I dropped from Vu for a very second and went into the void.
I noticed, but you know, I didn't even say anything. I tried to keep it our little secret, so chat wouldn't know. But no,
it's all good.
Nothing's
happened.
really
Just in case, you know, making sure people know, because you know, you're a professional here, I'm not. You know, that's how it works. But,
yeah, well, you know, the thing is, you know, some people are like, 6 kills, you know, I'm getting a little bit sleepy. Guys, it's almost 6 in the morning for me, and I'm awake, so don't you dare fall asleep on me. This game is only just getting started. We've got an Infernal Soul. That means damage. Damage means kills. Kills means blood, means violence. Exciting. RNG, 20 seconds away from this one, and this time, maybe they want to contest. Maybe they want to get a little aggro.
Yeah, maybe going to go for it, but you can see now, it's just Way the one keeping Jiejie and Flandre away. He is not the target they want to be focusing on. As you can see, the poke from Cryin, Ming, and Gala and Xiaohu will be very, very important as we walk up towards this fight. Mid lane prio, again, very important. Dragon has spawned all summoners available. Important to notice as well, Cryin has chosen the cleanse on his spell book, so he will be able to get out of any CC should he be caught out.
This is going to be a hard fight for RNG, because literally EDG can see all 5 members of RNG. They're porting into the back lines.
It's only one, though. It's only Flandre. They're trying to go for it, but there's going to be an immediate flank on top of it, but they get around for it. They don't let him get anything done, and the Haymaker is not there. You mentioned who's going to do the damage, but that shield does nothing as Cryin goes in. Moonlight Vigil is huge, though, and EDG might still have a fight if they want to go for it, as Ming goes in, but he goes down just as quickly. And now it's a 4v4, but important to notice both junglers are still alive and still very much ticking.
It's still fightable for RNG, but they are very low. One mistake, and they are dropping. Cryin lands the gold card, but it's cleansed immediately. EDG are just going for the Drake and a TP in as well.
Oh, RNG, they don't want to fight that dragon just yet. The flash forward from Viper, he gets the Gravitum. There's going to be the Heartbreaker as they get the gold card down. They will get a little bit more damage, but it is still just a kill apiece. But importantly for EDG, they get the dragon.
Yeah, they get the dragon, and honestly, like, Flandre got blown up instantly, wasn't able to pop the W there, and doesn't have the tank stats quite just yet, but you could still see how hard it is for RNG to team fight. Ming dives on in there, but gets CC'd and killed, and the follow-up can't come in very easily either, right? You got a couple of long-range champions that don't want to necessarily be diving on into things, but you can see, hey, good chaining of CC there. The gold card into the quickness, into the knock-up there, too. Just no time for Flandre to react. I guess one of the weaknesses of going for the steel caps is that you don't have Merc Treads. You don't have that extra tenacity, so you can be CC'd for a little bit longer. But with the low HP bars, RNG just cannot commit forward into the fight. So that was about as good as you can get from the start of a fight, but it does not get better from here on out for RNG.
And that's the big thing that we're talking about. Is the longer this game goes on, the more items you get onto Ryze, the tankier your Sett becomes, the more of an issue that we've said for a million times in a million broadcasts, the Aphelios becomes. And this is where it gets a little scary for RNG. They want to try and get Xiaohu onto 3 items, and I feel like that little window where Xiaohu's slightly ahead and everyone else in EDG is just a little bit behind is probably the only real opportunity you're going to have for RNG to really get yourselves a big advantage.
RNG are continuing to play towards that bottom side for Xiaohu. That's how they're splitting it up. Forgetting about the top lane for the time being. Good hook, though.
Great hook, because they're going to go in with the quickness and the grand entrance. That's a lot of damage onto Meiko, and one support got caught, but the other one is going to fall, and Viper is dead as well. No flash, no cleanse, and no way of getting out. There's the Destiny Gate, and they're going to land that one straight onto the Ryze, and this is exactly the play we wanted to see. When the ball starts rolling, the avalanche will come down on you so damn hard, and RNG turn for the big purple worm.
You make a mistake like that, there is no escaping RNG's team composition. Viper and Meiko get picked off after trying to commit on the kill on Ming. Spoiler, Ming is still alive, and RNG take the first Baron of the series. They've got a lead at 25 minutes. It is looking oh so good for them. And you can see in this play once again, like, Ming's on vision. You know, let's see him. Jiejie hits him. Meiko, or Ming rather, hits. No, it is Meiko. I'm sorry. Meiko.
Yeah, you got it.
Hits the CC onto Ming. But look at that. Over the wall, Gala finishes off Meiko. Of course, Viper there too gets knocked out. And then the mobility, way jumping over walls. Ming doing the same. Cryin porting in as well. There is no running away from that.
And that is just such an exact example of what you talked about, what makes RNG such a scary team. They pick champions with high mobility that can punish you so quickly. If you don't have the Destiny Gate, you don't get the second kill, you probably don't get the Baron. If you don't have Xiaohu able to join in with the team on this Jayce, which means everyone has to back away, you don't get yourself the kill onto Ryze because no one else can help him. And this is just such a good showing here from RNG. And again, as this season goes on, as it progresses, they are finding their form. They are finding themselves with advantages. And right now, they are finding themselves ahead of EDG in game 1.
And with this Baron buff, it becomes really hard for EDG to force those fights onto them. Think about the side lane pressure, right? Cryin has access to the Destiny Gate. He's going to be pushing in the bot side all on his own. Now Xiaohu can show up to the party as well. That turret, it's going down. Nothing that EDG can do to keep that one afloat. So by continuing to play two lanes, RNG can control this entire bot side jungle quadrant, take away those camps, and continue to press forward towards the base.
I mean, they could get this tower. There's not a quick enough rotation from EDG, so that is inhibitor broken at 26.5 minutes. They can take the inhibitor as well and really put down the pressure here on top of EDG. Look at the poke there from the accelerated shot blast. Meiko can't even join in him with his team, and EDG just have to give this up. They don't have a choice.
It's just gone. You know, there's going to be a minion wave in mid lane in not too long, right? They've already rotated over to that one, going to be taking that down. There's an Infernal in 50 seconds too. No control for EDG, so how do you play for that? What are you doing?
Oh, Jiejie, I was hyping you up and you just let me down. He walks forward thinking he's found a catch, but Gala had Ming, and that's another inhibitor. They could go for the end ender.
They are literally going for it. Cryin just ports into the base. Viper is super low. He's got to get back to the fountain and heal up, but he's also the wave clear for EDG, so the minions are here. EDG have not much to say about it at all. These turrets are going to get dropped.
Oh, Nexus turret number 1 will fall, so there's going to be one left now for the side of EDG. Not a big minion wave, but there is one more coming. Only 10 seconds left on Jiejie. RNG think better of it. They back themselves up. They can pick up the Infernal Drake and get themselves to spend all that gold they just picked up.
Honestly, a shocking turn of events the last couple of minutes here on Summoner's Rift, because, you know, RNG did have a gold lead coming out of the laning phase, but it did seem like EDG in the fights were going to be oh so strong, and yet EDG overstep in mid lane, right? Let's not forget Viper and Meiko dove in a little bit too deep there trying to get a kill on a support, and RNG convert that into a Baron buff, and then a couple of chained mistakes as well. Jiejie getting caught out, walking back into his own jungle. Now they've lost pretty much their entire base.
I mean, this is exactly what you were talking about. EDG and a 5-man front are incredibly strong. You take away one of those pillars, you take away one of those pieces, this team cannot do anything against RNG. RNG will just run you down. And now with a 7,000 gold lead, or just a little bit under it, RNG now with 2 inhibitors down, they don't care about the Baron in 2.5 minutes. They can just push this sidewave. And honestly, with the amount of poke they have, the amount of siege they have with the Jayce and the Varus, it's so difficult to defend this if you're EDG.
Yeah, it really is. You know, EDG playing against RNG's composition, you know, if you're able to sort of hold the line, you know, buy time for Scout and Viper to pump out the damage, it's really hard for RNG to team fight. But if EDG are making even small errors, RNG have the champions to immediately punish. Lee Sin, Rakan, so good at punishing you for your mistakes. We've seen RNG do that over and over again, and it's not looking to slow down anytime soon, Penguin.
Jiejie trying to just posture away to stop Wei, excuse me, different junglers. We can see Scout immediately has to use the Zhonya's as there was a gold card coming in right on top of his face, and Viper chunked out, cannot stay in front of the front line here, but we're going to see the Realm Warp giving out Flandre. They're going to jump on top of him. He doesn't get him on time. The quickness is too good, and he's dead. Buried. Back to the fountain you go, and now you see EDG running for their lives, but their lives are short-lived, Ender, and there's not going to be much left for them. It's going to be all on Viper. He cleanses. He still has his flash available. It's Viper versus 5. It's Viper versus 4. It's Viper versus 3. Maybe Viper is going to be able to sustain in this fight, but he's got so many things to deal with. Champions, minions. There's just over 4. What? Viper's insane. He's going for one more, but not quite get it. Gala shuts him down. And RNG will take game 1 over EDG.
RNG have woken up, firing out a big shot here to start off the series against EDG, but my word, Viper almost holding it together there on the Aphelios. Still, RNG came out with this plan that, honestly, I doubted. I think a lot of people doubted what RNG had put to the table, but in the test of the actual game itself, RNG found ways to capitalize on errors that EDG made and looked so good at finding and seizing those opportunities.
Honestly, I feel like Gala heard me saying Viper's name twice and was like, no. There is only one pentakill with Penguin screaming it. Tisk, tisk, I shall take this away. But honestly, I completely agree with you. The harder executionable comp was on RNG. They had too many, or far more, prerequisites they had to meet in order to get their team comp to work. But as soon as the snowball started, you can see it there, it just becomes a landslide.
Oh, look at top lane, by the way. 15,000 damage to 2.4. There's a reason we talked about Xiaohu. Flandre didn't really exist in this game. I felt like from the draft, Sett was going to be kind of the make or break pick, and I wasn't really concerned that he was falling behind in the laning phase, but I mean, they tried that Realm Warp play where Flandre gets the free flank using that Ryze ultimate a couple of times, but it never worked. He was literally just too squishy to actually press his R button really and make much use out of that. So my word, Xiaohu making me eat my words a little bit right there, and you know what? Couldn't have asked for a better performance there on the Jayce.
I really do have to commend Ming as well, because even though it was a very cool little setup of the Realm Warp to get Flandre right behind people to set up for the showstopper, Ming jumped on him with the quickness instantly every single time. The showstoppers were either exceptionally delayed or they just weren't going off at all. And this is where RNG, I start to believe more and more in them, because they find the meta, they find the picks that work for them. And you can't ignore Xiaohu. We have seen this now time and time again. You can turn around and say, oh, Sett, fine, whatever. We'll let him just be a punching bag for a little bit. It doesn't matter, because you're still going to lose if you let that happen. You have to deal with the problem.
Yeah, you can't ignore Ming either. Did more damage than Flandre on Rakan.
Oof.
Flandre built Strikebreaker. He built damage items. Rakan had Ignite.
Hysterics, yeah.
Whoa, that's rough, man.
It's a little rough. We'll see if EDG can bounce back or if RNG will be taking a swift 2-0. We're going to send it to a quick break, and when we return, possibly the last game of Week 6.